Greetings, everyone. So nice to connect with you today. Some members have shared that they're feeling especially anxious with the turmoil in the world. And to begin, if you're someone who suffers from clinical depression or something like that, please be sure to work with your healthcare professional to get the help that you need, or anybody really who is feeling especially stressed or anxious. And there is a lot going on right now. There are the attacks in Israel and Gaza, Russia in Ukraine. There's the degradation of the environment and threats to democracy, threats of nuclear challenges. So there is a lot going on. And there is danger in the world. We know that that's the case, and it's challenging to live with that. Our brains respond to threats, even if they're afar, and even if those threats are not going to directly affect our safety or well-being, but our brain responds as though these are direct threats that can affect us. And of course, all of us, our hearts ache at the pain that we see others experiencing. And it's also compounded by our brain sensing a threat, even if it's not in our immediate area. These threats create tension. And our anxiety is that we want relief from this tension. We want closure. This is part of our evolution. And I've probably overmentioned to-do lists, but I'm going to use this example again. When we write down everything we have to do, we create tension because there's no closure on those things. And then when we complete those tasks and we put a little line through whatever is on the to-do list, our brain releases dopamine, and that feels really good. And what many people may be experiencing right now is the first part of that, the tension that's created, the stress, but with no relief. And we can only handle that for so long. So we're going to discuss some techniques that can help us feel some relief from anxiety that we may be feeling. I'm sure we all realize that there are certain industries that make money by creating stress in us. And then we go back to them hoping for some relief. And I'm thinking of media, for example, that you'll see headlines that give the impression of a threat, and then we have to click through, or they build that threat until there's just no closure. They want us to keep coming back so we can get relief from the tension. And of course, they make money as we come back. So one way that we can not have as much of that type of tension is to control the media that we watch or read. And that's not to say stay uninformed. Find a reliable source and just go to that source. Maybe it's a friend who's very well read and can update you on what you need to know, or maybe a blog that you trust. They will escalate to your attention what you need to know. So this is one way that we can manage the tension that we feel, the stress, by managing what we allow into our awareness. Tension is the space between right now and what we want. And you could also define that as unhappiness. Happiness is when we are satisfied with the way things are, or when we accept how things are. And we've shared the serenity prayer before, which goes like this: God or the divine, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I know some of you are very familiar with this and probably repeating along. The courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Again, God or the divine, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We're probably not going to resolve the decades-long war between Israel and the Palestinians, or we probably aren't going to end hunger in our country by ourselves. The ancient philosopher Epictetus wrote, "Some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are the body, property, reputation, authority, and in one word, whatever are not our own actions." So where you are right now, you are probably safe. Wherever you woke up this morning, you were probably safe. But we want guarantees. We want control that we're always going to be safe. A friend of mine is a psychologist, and he said sometimes his clients will say, when they're feeling this angst of so much going on in the world, they'll say, like, I feel like we're all going to die. And he said, well, sometimes the answer is, yes, we are all going to die someday. So our tension may come from feeling no control over when that might happen. There are no guarantees, and quite frankly, we don't have a lot of control about events. We have control over how we respond to them, but we don't have control over very many events. And we want relief from not having control. It's important to recognize that tension. It helps to relieve it a little bit. So that doesn't give us control. It's just we acknowledge that the tension we feel is we want control. The Rosicrucian Order is about to release a new parents app, and there is a chapter that's called Taming Temper Tantrums. And it says that a child wants their energy to go in a certain way, and it's blocked. So it explodes in a temper tantrum. For example, if they want to go to a park or to a friend's house, but they're not allowed to go, they get that energy going, and then it's blocked and it blows up. And what the Parents app suggests is to redirect it. So we have this opportunity for ourselves. We don't have to call them temper tantrums, but I think all of us have felt like when we have, again, we're here and we want something else and it's not happening. Or we want something to stop and it's not stopping. So we do have control over how we respond to situations, and we can redirect our energy. Let's use a slightly different example. Let's say we really want someone to love us. Well, we don't have control over that, but we can love someone else. We can be as caring and kind as possible to someone else. We might not be able to save democracy ourselves, but we can research and volunteer for a candidate who is committed to democracy or the environment or whatever. So we can redirect our energy of wanting to have control over events that we don't have control over, whether we want to admit that or not. And we can direct it toward things that we actually can do. We can also read inspiring works. And recently I was looking through the list of Rosicrucian digests that have been published over the past few years, and I want to reread every single one of them. And, you know, we also have podcast recordings of each of the digest articles now online between youtube.com/Rosicrucian TV. So our channel on YouTube and our podcast on Rosicrucian.org, we have thousands of recordings, video and audio recordings. Some of the recent Rosicrucian digest are expanding our awareness, living in harmony with the natural world, being of service in challenging times, radiant health. And you can just go to Rosicrucian.org, and then at the top there's a tab, and you can choose it's texts, and under text it says Rosicrucian Digest, and you can see all of the, I think we're 101 years of Rosicrucian Digests now. Or you can just go to Rosicrucian.org/Rosicrucian-digest. When we are threatened, it often involves two steps. First, there is our initial response, which is involuntary. And there is a story written by an ancient Roman author named Gellius. And he was on a ship that ran into a terrible storm. This was almost 2,000 years ago. And with him on that ship was a famous Stoic philosopher whom he did not know. And when the seas initially got really rough, he looked over, and that Stoic philosopher had gone pale. He had lost all the color in his face. And the storm raged all night long. And they survived. The ship did not go down. And the next day, Gellius spoke to this philosopher and said, I saw that you look scared like the rest of us, and you lost the color in your face. And he said, that's totally normal. It's natural. This is an animal instinct that initially your system is bombarded and your physiology responds. So the philosopher said, yeah, I did probably go pale. I did react immediately. And then he directed his thoughts to logic. He said he thought to himself, well, we could sink, but maybe we won't sink. Or if we do sink, maybe I can swim to shore and be saved. Or another ship could help us. And then he went about doing what needed to be done, which at that point was bailing the ship and grabbing the oars. So that's the first step, just this animal reaction. The next response involves our voluntary judgments. And this philosopher said, study what is happening with indifference and then let it go. So that's what he did. Yes, we could go down in the shipwreck. Yes, I could die. Yes, we could go down, but I don't die. Or it's possible the ship won't go down. The challenge we create for ourselves is when we add value judgments. So when water is coming into the ship, we're all going, what can we do? We're all going to die. If I lose my job, my life will be ruined. My children will starve. No one will love me. Instead, we could say, if I lose my job, I might find a better one, or I can work through a temporary agency until this passes, or I might not lose my job. For any of the threats that you feel, we react to the initial threat, and then we can pause so that we don't start creating these value judgments, which either take us into the past or project us into the future, but don't have us in the present moment. You may have heard of some research regarding gazelles, the animals like an antelope, where researchers have watched them. They're chased by a cheetah out in the wild. It's a herd of gazelles. They're chased by a cheetah. And the ones that survive, when the threat is over, they show videos of them where they do this shake throughout every part of their body. You can watch it. It's like a ripple. It goes through their whole body. And then you know what they do next? They start grazing and act like nothing had happened. So the threat is over. They do this with their muscles. They reset, and then they go back to what they were doing. They don't stand around moaning that when the cheetah was chasing everybody, this one cut me off, or that one was slow and I was caught behind her. There's no replaying this in the past. There's no, she does this every time. So we have an opportunity to learn from this, to literally shake it off. When something shakes us up, we can pause for a moment to observe what's happening. It's especially helpful if we can catch this before our adrenaline lets loose. Then it's in our system for at least 20 minutes. So, then our heart's racing and our breath and everything else. So we can practice techniques to stay in the moment. We're going to be doing that. First, we're going to explore how we hold emotions in our body. When we feel stress, we memorize that or capture it often in our bodies. So right now, put your hand on a place in your body that's calling for you, for your attention. You're feeling stiff or sore. Place your hand somewhere on your body that wants your attention. Give it your attention. Just gently place your hand on that area. And now take a deep breath and take another breath, even deeper, till your lungs are as full as they can be. And then exhale slowly through your mouth for as long as you can. We're going to do this 2 more times. So again, place your hand on the part of your body that wants your attention. Take a deep breath in through your mouth. Breathe again. You're as full as you can get. And then exhale through your mouth, drawing it out as long as you can. Now we're going to do this a 3rd time, but you're not going to pay attention just to that part of your body. You're just going to release all of the tension that you can in your body. So take a deep breath, a little bit more, completely filling your lungs. And then exhale slowly through your mouth, feeling any tension just drifting away. We've talked before about this technique, this breathing technique. And when we do that extra breath in, it pops the air sacs in our lungs that hold carbon dioxide that needs to get out. When we're stressed, sometimes we hyperventilate and breathe deeply, but often we don't breathe deeply enough. So the carbon dioxide builds up in our lungs, and this extra deep breath pops those little alveoli, the little air sacs in our lungs, releasing that carbon dioxide. And then that long exhalation through the mouth gets the carbon dioxide out. When we have carbon dioxide in our system, it often makes us feel jittery or anxious. Now, we're going to practice another exercise. So sit in whatever way is most comfortable for you. And I'm going to intone a vowel sound just so you're hearing a sound. And I'm going to let it fade and concentrate on the sound that I will be intoning as much as you can. Stay relaxed, but focus as much as you can on the sound that I will intone. And then when I'm done intoning it, place that same focused attention on the awareness of this moment. So you're going to concentrate on the sound, on hearing the sound that I make. When it's done, when the vibrations have completely ended, still keep your focus and be aware of what exists. So close your eyes. Place your same awareness on the silence. When you're ready, open your eyes. We've also spoken in the past about our ability to tone the vagus nerves by pulling on our earlobes. These vagus nerves help to create tranquility throughout our entire being. And the vagus nerves, there are two of them. They go from our brain down to our gut, where we experience a lot of emotions. They go through they're by our ears. They go through our throat and our chest, again, down to the gut. And there are two little peripheral nerves. And we can tone the vagal nerves, helping us to feel more relaxed just by pulling down on our earlobes, just gently tugging down on our earlobes. Excuse me. We can also prepare ourselves to be ready to respond to events that come up by preparing for the day ahead. By preparing, who are you going to be today? So again, we know that if something is shocking or threatening, we have the initial response, and then prepare ahead of time. What are we going to do next? Let's say we hear about horrible acts of violence. We can put a stopgap in so that we acknowledge what happened and then pause so that we can determine the best way for us to respond. And it helps to prepare to do that ahead of time. We can also send thoughts from our sanctums. We're encouraged every day to go to our sanctums. The Rosicrucian Code of Life has at least 2 points that provide instruction on this. Point number 6 says, isolate yourself for a moment every day, preferably in your sanctum, and send thoughts of love, harmony, and health towards humanity as a whole, particularly towards all those who suffer physically or mentally. Also, ask the divine to assist them on all planes and to preserve them as much as possible from the ordeals of life. And point number 22 includes, before going to sleep, send positive thoughts to the whole of humanity. and entrust your soul to the divine. And of course, we have the opportunity to attune with the Council of Solace healing meditation that's done here at Rosicrucian Park in the Grand Temple every Monday through Friday at 12 noon. So you can attune from wherever you are. So now please close your eyes. And send thoughts of love, harmony, and health towards humanity as a whole, particularly toward those who suffer physically or mentally. Also, ask the divine to assist them on all planes and to preserve them as much as possible from the ordeals of life. So mote it be. When you are ready, please open your eyes. So these are some things that we can do to help us when we become aware of threats and dangers and all the things that happen in the world. And again, God or the divine, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So mote it be.